Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupar Ashtarashatashmat Shri Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupar Ashtarashatashmat Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupar Ashtarashatashmat Shri Bhakti Vigyan Keśavāṣṭakam Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupar Ashtarashatashmat Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pavishta Maha-Bhagavat Shri Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pavishta Shri Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Pavishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Shara Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gopal Shada Vṛndā ki jai. नामचर्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय. सर्व विश्व विराट गिरिराज महाराज की जय. श्री राधाकुंड श्याम कुंड की जय. श्री मुनि देवी गंगा देवी की जय. श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय. श्री भक्ति देवी की जय. श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जय. श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय. श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जय. श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. धन्यवाद. प्रणाम रसेश्वरी माता जी. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणीति नामिने. नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने. वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः. गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तरभक्ताय नमो नमः. यं प्रव्रजन्तम् अनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृदन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतम्. नष्टप्रयेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नायमां चरणान्तिकम्. भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षाय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वं शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम्. भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्तवृन्द. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Dandava pranams Indira Mataji. Okay. Sorry, one second. I need to In here in Navadvip, it was yesterday. Well, I think it was yesterday. That's like today is the 17th. Oh, today is the 17th. Oh my God. I am so confused. I thought today was the. Anyways, I read about Ramanujacharya and Bhakti Hridaya Goswami Maharaj last night because I thought it was their appearance day. I'm so. Oh God, I need to look at the calendar more. Not the Vaishnav calendar. I'm talking about like the day-to-day calendar, so I know what date it is. Anyhow, if you want to hear that, it's on YouTube. Reading of about Srila Bhakti Hridaya Goswami Maharaj and Ramanujacharya. So Shri Ramanujacharya ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi ki jai, Shri Bhakti Hridaya Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi ki jai. Today's Saturday. I thought today was Sunday. Oh God, that's so bizarre. Okay, so Dhruva Maharaj. Uttanapad doesn't welcome Dhruva. An envious and proud Suruchi chastises Dhruva. Angry Dhruva goes to his mother Suniti. And then Suniti directs Dhruva to worship the Lord. She says, don't wish ill fortune for others. Suruchi's words are true. Worship the Lord like Brahma and Manu, for no one else can extinguish your distress. And then I'm going to just read from the book, because the book lots of times has interesting things in it. So then Narada tests Dhruva's determination. Hearing his mother's instructions for fulfilling his desire, Dhruva controlled his mind by his intelligence and left home. Narada was astonished hearing this news and approached Dhruva. Touching the boy's head with his all-virtuous hand, he spoke to himself. How wonderful are the Kshatriyas, who cannot tolerate even a slight infringement upon their prestige. Though just a small child, he has taken the harsh words of his stepmother seriously. You guys are still there. Thank you for waiting. I have inverter power now, but it was shut off for some weird reason. So, okay. Let me share my screen again. Thank you for so patiently waiting. You're all still there, right? It says on my screen that you are, but sometimes this isn't right. Okay, so Narada is astonished hearing this news and approached Dhruva. Okay, though just a small child, he has taken harsh words of his mother so seriously. How did Narada know about Dhruva? Well, Narada is Trikalagya and knows everyone's heart just like the Supersoul. And as soon as the Lord understands that a loving entity is determined and serious about entering devotional service, he immediately sends his representative. Narada speaks to Dhruva. Don't be affected by honor or dishonor, as you are just a child attached to playing. And then in the commentary, but if you're so developed to understand honor and insult, then you should also have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's karma. Though dualities exist, the cause of dissatisfaction is only one's illusion due to previous karma. So an intelligent person is satisfied with whatever comes, favorable or unfavorable, understanding that it's the Lord's supreme will. God, my throat. Narada came to Dhruva. Let me just drink some water. So an intelligent person is satisfied with whatever comes, favorable or unfavorable, understanding that it is it's the Lord's supreme will. Narada came to Dhruva under the direction of the Lord just to initiate him, yet he is testing Dhruva's determination to execute the process. It is very difficult to satisfy the Lord, whose mercy you desire, by the process taught by your mother. Many mystic yogis failed to understand the path of God realization by samadhi and austerities, despite trying this process for many births with detachment. Therefore, you should give up your endeavor, for it will not be successful. When you are grown up, you can attempt this. One who endures any condition of life, happiness or distress, offered by the supreme will, can cross over the darkness of nescience. And there's a note. By experiencing happiness, one's pious acts are being exhausted, and by suffering, one's sinful acts are being exhausted. By satisfaction in both situations, one crosses over samsara. And then surpassing miseries. Upon meeting a more qualified person, one should rejoice. Upon meeting a less qualified person, one should feel compassion, not contempt. Upon meeting an equally qualified person, one should be friendly, not be competitive. Thus, one is never affected by the threefold miseries. Then Dhruva expresses his ambitious goal. Whatever you have explained for attainment of peace of mind is certainly a very good instruction, but I am not very submissive due to my kshatriya temperament. Therefore, your valuable instructions do not stand in my heart that has been pierced by Suruchi's harsh words. I desire the most exalted position in the three worlds, one which has not been attained by my forefathers or others, even Brahma. You can fulfill my desire. Playing your veena, you travel for the welfare of the entire universe, just like the sun. So that's where we're reading from now. 39. Right? Did we read this purport? Dear Lord, you are worthy, son of Brahma. Oh, maybe we didn't read this verse 38. I can't remember. Let's just read this verse 38 just to be safe. Nunam bhavan bhagavato yonkaja parameshtina vitudan attate vinam hitaya jagator kavat. My dear Lord, you are a worthy son of Lord Brahma, and you travel playing your musical instrument, the veena, for the welfare of the entire universe. You are just like the sun, which rotates in the universe for the benefit of all living beings. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Dhruva Maharaj, although a young child, expressed his hope that he might be offered the benediction of a kingdom, which would exceed in opulence those of his father and grandfather. He also expressed his gladness that he had met such an exalted person as Narada, whose only concern was to illuminate the world, like the sun, which rotates all over the universe only for the purpose of benefiting the inhabitants of all planets. Narad Muni travels all over the universe for the sole purpose of performing the best welfare activity for the entire universe by teaching everyone how to become a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, Dhruva Maharaj felt fully assured that Narad Muni could fulfill his desire, even though the desire was very extraordinary. The example of the sun is very significant. The sun is so kind that he distributes his sunshine everywhere without consideration. Dhruva Maharaj requested Narad Muni to be merciful to him. He pointed out that Narad travels all over the universe just for the purpose of doing good to all conditioned souls. He requested that Narad Muni show his mercy by awarding him the benefit of his particular desire. Dhruva Maharaj was strongly determined to fulfill his desire, and it was for that purpose that he had left his home and palace. Maitreya Uvacha Ityudahritamakarnya Bhagavan Naradastada Prita Pratyahadam Balam Sarvakyam Anukampaya. The sage Maitreya continued, the great personality Narad Muni, upon hearing the words of Dhruva Maharaj, became very compassionate towards him, and in order to show him his causeless mercy, he gave him the following expert advice. Purport. Since the great sage Narada is the foremost spiritual master, naturally his only activity is to bestow the greatest benefit upon whomever he meets. Dhruva Maharaj, however, was a child, and so his demand was also that of a playful child. Still, the great sage became compassionate toward him, and for his welfare, he spoke the following verses. Narada Vacha Jananya Bhita Panta Savai Nishreyasasate Bhagavan Vasudevastam Bhajatam Pravanatmana. The great sage Narada told Dhruva Maharaj, the instruction given by your mother Suniti to follow the path of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is just suitable for you. You should therefore completely absorb yourself in the devotional service of the Lord. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj's demand was to achieve an abode even greater than Lord Brahma's. Within this universe, Lord Brahma is supposed to be in the most exalted position, for he is the chief of all demigods. But Dhruva Maharaj wanted a realm beyond his. Therefore, his desire was not to be fulfilled by worshipping any demigod. As described, he wanted a position higher than any demigod. As described in Bhagavad Gita, the benedictions offered by the demigods are all temporary. Therefore, Narad Muni asked Dhruva Maharaj to follow the path recommended by his mother, to worship Krishna, Vasudeva. When Krishna offers anything, it is beyond the expectation of the devotee. Both Suniti and Narad Muni knew that the demand of Dhruva Maharaj was impossible for any demigod to fulfill, and therefore both of them recommended following the process of devotional service to Lord Krishna. Narad Muni is referred to here as Bhagavan because he can bless any person just as the Supreme Personality, just like the Supreme Personality of Godhead can. He was very pleased with Dhruva Maharaj, and he could have at once personally given whatever he wanted. But that is not the duty of the spiritual master. His duty is to engage the disciple in proper devotional service as prescribed in the Shastras. Krishna was similarly present before Arjuna, and even though he could have given him all facilities for victory over the opposing party without a fight, he did not do so. Instead, he asked Arjuna to fight. In the same way, Narada Muni asked Dhruva Maharaj to undergo devotional discipline in order to achieve the desired result. It's a really good point. Really good point there. Dharmartha kamamokshakyam ya ichet shreya atmana ekam heva harestatra karanam padasevanam. Any person who desires the fruits of the four principles, religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and at the end, liberation, should engage himself in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For worship of his lotus feet yields the fulfillment of all these. Of Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that only with the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can the demigods offer benedictions. Therefore, whenever any sacrifice is offered to a demigod, the Supreme Lord in the form of Narayana Shila, or Shalagram Shila, is put forward to observe the sacrifice. Actually, the demigods cannot give any benediction without the sanction of the Supreme Lord. Narada Muni, therefore, advised that even for religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation, one should approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, offer prayers, and ask for the fulfillment of one's desire at the lotus feet of the Lord. That is real intelligence. An intelligent person never goes to demigods to pray for anything. He goes directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the cause of all benediction. As Lord Sri Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita, the performance of ritualistic ceremonies is not actually religion. The real path of religion is to surrender at the lotus feet of the Lord. For one who is actually surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord, there is no question of any separate endeavor for economic development. A devotee engaged in service to the Lord is not disappointed in the satisfaction of his senses. If he wants to satisfy his senses, Krishna fulfills that desire. As far as liberation is concerned, any devotee fully engaged in the service of the Lord is already liberated. Therefore, there is no separate necessity for his liberation. Narada Muni therefore advised Dhruva Maharaj to take shelter of Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, and engage himself in the way that his mother had advised, for that would help him fulfill his desire. In this verse, Narada Muni has especially stressed the devotional service to the Lord as the only way. In other words, even if one is full of material desires, he can continue his devotional service to the Lord and all his desires will be fulfilled. Tat tata gacha bhadrang te yamunaya-statam shuchi punyam madhuvanam yatra sanidhyam nityada hare. My dear boy, I therefore wish all good fortune for you. You should go to the bank of the Yamuna, where there is a virtuous forest named Madhuvana, and there be purified. Just by going there, one draws nearer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who always lives there. Purport. Both Narada Muni and Suniti, the mother of Dhruva Maharaj, advised Dhruva Maharaj to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, Narada Muni is especially giving him directions how this worship of the Supreme Person can very quickly fructify. He recommends that Dhruva Maharaj go to the bank of the Yamuna, where there is a forest of the name Madhuvan, and begin his meditation and worship there. Places of pilgrimage yield a special advantage for a devotee in quickly advancing his spiritual life. Lord Krishna lives everywhere, but still it is very easy to approach him in the holy places of pilgrimage, because these places are inhabited by great sages. Lord Sri Krishna says that he lives wherever devotees are chanting the glories of his transcendental activities. There are many places of pilgrimage in India, and especially prominent are Badri Narayan, Dwarka, Rameshwar, and Jagannath Puri. These sacred places are called the four Dhams, the Chara Dham. Dham refers to a place where one can immediately contact the Supreme Lord. To go to Badri Narayan, one has to pass through Haridwar, on the path to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, there are other holy places of pilgrimage, such as Prayag, Allahabad, and Mathura, and the topmost of them all is Vrindavan. Unless one is very advanced in spiritual life, it is recommended that he live in such holy places and executes devotional service there. But an advanced devotee like Narada Muni, who is engaged in preaching work, can serve the Supreme Lord anywhere. Sometimes he even goes to the hellish planets. Hellish conditions do not affect Narada Muni because he is engaged in greatly responsible activities in devotional service. According to the statement of Narada Muni, Madhuvana, which is still existing in the Vrindavan area, in the district of Mathura, is a most sacred place. Many saintly persons still live there and engage in the devotional service of the Lord. There are 12 forests in the area of Vrindavan, and Madhuvana is one of them. Pilgrims from all parts of India assemble together and visit all 12 of these forests. There are 5 forests on the eastern bank of the Yamuna: Bhadravan, Bilvavan, Lohavan, Bandiravan, and Mahavan. And on the western side of the bank, there are 7: Madhuvan, Talavan, Kumudvan, Bahulavan, Kamyavan, Kadirvan, and Vrindavan. In those 12 forests, there are different ghats, or bathing places. They are listed as follows: Avimukta, Adiruddha, Guhya Tirtha, Prayag Tirtha, Kanakala, Tinduka Tirtha, Surya Tirtha, Vartaswami, Dhruva Ghat, where there are many nice trees of fruits and flowers, Dhruva Ghat, where there are many nice trees and fruits and flowers, is famous because Dhruva Maharaj meditated and underwent severe penances and austerities there in an elevated spot. And then there's Rishi Tirtha, Moksha Tirtha, Buddha Tirtha, Gokarna, Krishna Ganga, Vaikunta, Asikunda, Chatusumudrika Kupa, Akrura Tirtha. When Krishna and Balaram were going to Mathura in the chariot driven by Akrura, all of them took baths in this ghat. Yagikya Viprastan, Kubja Kupa, Rangastal, Manchastal, Malayudastan, and Dashashvameda. These are all in Mathura. Yeah, all of these places are in Mathura. Snatvanus savanang tasmin kalendya salile shive kritva chittani nevasan atmana kalpitasana. Narada Muni instructed, "My dear boy, in the waters of the Yamuna River, which is known as Kalindi, you should take 3 baths daily, because the water is very auspicious, sacred, and clear. After bathing, you should perform the necessary regulative principles for aṣṭāṅga-yoga, and then sit down on your asana, your sitting place, in a calm and quiet position." Purport. It appears from this statement that Dhruva Maharaj had already been instructed how to practice the eightfold yoga system, which is known as aṣṭāṅga-yoga. This system is explained in our Bhagavad Gita as it is, in the chapter entitled Dhyan Yoga. It is understood that in aṣṭāṅga-yoga, one practices settling the mind and then concentrating it on the form of Lord Vishnu, as will be described in the following verses. It is clearly stated here that aṣṭāṅga-yoga is not a bodily gymnastic exercise, but a practice to concentrate the mind on the form of Vishnu. Before sitting on his asana, which is also described in Bhagavad Gita, one has to cleanse himself very nicely and clear our sacred water thrice daily. The water of the Yamuna is naturally very clear and pure, and thus if anyone bathes there 3 times, undoubtedly he will be very greatly purified externally. Narada Muni therefore instructed Dhruva Maharaj to go to the bank of the Yamuna and thus become externally purified. This is part of the gradual process of practicing mystic yoga. Probably was a lot cleaner back then in the 70s. I'm sure Prabhupada wrote that. Pranayamena trivritta pranendriya manomalam Shanarvyudasya vidyayen manasa guruna gurum. After sitting on your seat, Practice the 3 kinds of breathing exercises, and thus gradually control the life air, the mind, and the senses. Completely free yourself from all material contamination, and with great patience begin to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. In this verse, the entire yoga system is described in summary, and special stress is given to the breathing exercises for stopping the disturbing mind. The mind by nature is always oscillating, for it is very fickle, but the breathing exercise is meant to control it. This process for controlling the mind might have been very possible in those days millions of years ago, when Dhruva Maharaj took to it. But at the present moment, the mind has to be fixed directly on the lotus feet of the Lord by the chanting process. By chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one immediately concentrates on the sound vibration and thinks to the lotus feet of the Lord, and very quickly one is elevated to the position of samadhi, or trance. If one goes on chanting the holy names of the Lord, which are not different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, naturally his mind becomes absorbed in thought of the Lord. It is here recommended to Dhruva Maharaj that he meditate on the Supreme Guru, or Supreme Spiritual Master. The Supreme Spiritual Master is Krishna, who is therefore known as Chaita Guru. This refers to the Supersoul who is sitting in everyone's heart. He helps from within, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, and he sends the Spiritual Master who helps from without. The Spiritual Master is the external manifestation of the Chaita Guru, or the Spiritual Master sitting in everyone's heart. The process by which we can give up our thoughts of material things is called pratyahar, which entails being freed from all material thoughts and engagements. The word abhidhyayat, which is used in this verse, indicates that unless one's mind is fixed, one cannot meditate. The conclusion, therefore, is that meditation means thinking of the Lord within. Whether one comes to that stage by the aṣṭāṅga-yoga system or by the method recommended in the Shastras, especially for this present age, to constantly chant the holy name of the Lord, the goal is to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prasadabhimukam shashvat prasanna vadanekshanam sunasang subhruvam charu kapolam surasundaram. The form of the Lord is described herein. The Lord's face is perpetually very beautiful and pleasing in attitude. To the devotees who see him, he appears never to be displeased, and he is always prepared to award benedictions to them. His eyes, his nicely decorated eyebrows, his raised nose, and his broad forehead are all very beautiful. He is more beautiful than all the demigods. Purport. This verse clearly explains how one has to meditate on the form of the Lord. Impersonal meditation is a bogus invention of modern days. In none of the Vedic literatures is impersonal meditation recommended. In Bhagavad Gita, when meditation is recommended, the word matpara, which means pertaining to me, is used. Any Vishnu form pertains to Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna is the original Vishnu form. Sometimes someone tries to meditate upon the impersonal Brahman, which is described in Bhagavad Gita as avyakta, meaning unmanifested or impersonal. But it is remarked by the Lord himself that those who are attracted to this impersonal feature of the Lord suffer a very troublesome task, because no one can concentrate on the impersonal feature. One has to concentrate on the form of the Lord, which is described here in connection with Dhruva Maharaj's meditation. As will be apparent from later descriptions, Dhruva Maharaj perfected this kind of meditation, and his yoga was successful. Tarunam Ramani Yangam Arunashtekshana Pranatashrayanam Nrirnam Sharanyam Karunarnavam. Narada Muni continued, the Lord's form is always youthful. Every limb and every part of his body is properly formed, free from defect. His eyes and lips are pinkish like the rising sun. He is always prepared to give shelter to their surrendered soul, and anyone so fortunate as to look upon him feels all satisfaction. The Lord is always worthy to be the master of the surrendered soul, for he is the ocean of mercy. Purport. Everyone has to surrender to someone superior. That is always the nature of our living condition. At the present moment, we are trying to surrender to someone, either to society or to our nation, family, state, or government. The surrendering process already exists, but it is never perfect because the person or institution unto whom we surrender is imperfect. And our surrender, having so many ulterior motives, is also imperfect. As such, in the material world, no one is worthy to accept anyone's surrender, nor does anyone fully surrender to anyone else unless obliged to do so. But here the surrendering process is voluntary, and the Lord is worthy to accept the surrender. This surrender by the living entity occurs automatically as soon as he sees the beautiful youthful nature of the Lord. The description given by Narada Muni is not imaginary. The form of the Lord is understood by the Parampara system. Mayavadi philosophers say that we have to imagine the form of the Lord, but here Narada Muni does not say that. Rather, he gives a description of the Lord from authoritative sources. I have to clear my throat again, 1 second. He is himself an authority, and he is able to go to Vaikuntha Loka and see the Lord personally. Therefore, his description of the bodily features of the Lord is not imagination. Sometimes we give instructions to our students about the bodily features of the Lord, and they paint him. Their paintings are not imaginary. The description is given through the disciplic succession, just like that given by Narada Muni, who sees the Lord and describes his bodily features. Therefore, such description should be accepted, and if they are painted, that is not imaginative painting. Wow, the whole art department must have been so happy when they read this purport, when they got the transcripts. Śrīvad-sankam ghanashyamam purusham vanamalinam shankha-chakra gada parmar abhivyakta chaturbhujam. I don't have the physical book for this part, but in the next book, I think chapter 10 is when my next book starts. Then I'll show all the pictures for all these. The Lord is further described as having the mark of Shrivatsa, or the sitting place of the goddess of fortune, and his bodily hue is deep bluish. The Lord is a person. He wears a garland of flowers, and he is eternally manifest with 4 hands, which holds, beginning from the lower left hand, a conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower. Purport. Here in this verse, the word Purusham is very significant. The Lord is never female. He is always male, Purush. Therefore, the impersonalist who imagines the Lord's form as that of a woman is mistaken. The Lord appears in a female form if necessary, but his perpetual form is Purush, because he is originally male. The feminine feature of the Lord is displayed by the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, Radharani, and Sita, etc. All these goddesses of fortune are servitors of the Lord. They are not the supreme, as falsely imagined by the impersonalist. Lord Krishna in his Narayan feature is always 4-handed. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when Arjuna wanted to see his universal form, he showed this feature of 4-handed Narayan. Some devotees are of the opinion that Krishna is an incarnation of Narayan, but the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam school says that the Bhagavat school says that Narayan is a manifestation of Krishna, like that verse that we read. How does it begin? Ete changsa kulapu sam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. And when it went through all the different incarnations, all the different avatars, then there's a verse that said, all these avatars previously mentioned are either portions of plenary portions of Sri Krishna, who is Swayam Bhagavan, who is the original personality of Godhead. Kiritinam kundalinam Keyura valayanvitam Kaustubha bharana grivam Pitakosheya vasasam. The entire body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva is decorated. He wears a valuable jeweled helmet, necklaces, and bracelets. His neck is adorned with the Kaustuba jewel, and he is dressed in yellow silk garments. Kanchi kalapaparyasta lasat kanchana nupuram darshaniyatamang shantam manonayana vardhanam. The Lord is decorated with small golden bells around his waist, and his lotus feet are decorated with golden ankle bells. All his bodily features are very attractive and pleasing to the eyes. He is always peaceful, calm, and quiet, and very pleasing to the eyes and the mind. Padbyam nakamani shrenya vilasadbyam samarchatang Harit Parma Karnika Tishnyam Akramyatmanyavastitam. Real yogis meditate upon the transcendental form of the Lord as he stands on the whirl of the lotus of their hearts. As he stands on the whirl of the lotus of their hearts, the jewel-like nails of his lotus feet glittering. Smayamanam abhidyayet sanuragavalokanam niyatenaika bhutena manasa varadarshabham. The Lord is always smiling, and the devotee should constantly see the Lord in this form, as he looks very mercifully toward the devotee. In this way, the meditator should look toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the bestower of all benedictions. Purport. The word niyatena is very significant in this connection, for it indicates that one should execute the meditation practice as stated above. One should not manufacture a way of meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but should follow the authorized shastras and personalities. By this prescribed method, one can practice concentration upon the Lord until one is so fixed that he remains in trance, thinking always of the form of the Lord. The word used here is ekabhutina, which means with great attention and concentration. If one concentrates on the descriptions of the bodily features of the Lord, one will never fall down. What verse are we reading up to? Just checking really quick. We're reading up to 54. Okay. Evam bhagavato rupam subhadram dhyayato mana nivritya parayaturnam sampannam na nivartate. One who meditates in this way, concentrating his mind upon the always auspicious form of the Lord, is very soon freed from all material contamination, and he does not come down from meditation upon the Lord. He does not come down, he's always fixed in meditation upon the Lord. Purport. This fixed meditation is called samadhi, or trance. A person constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord cannot be deviated from meditating on the form of the Lord, as described herein. The Archana Marg, or the devotional path prescribed in the Pancharatra system of devotional service for worshipping the deity in the temple, makes the devotee think constantly of the Lord. That is samadhi, or trance. One who practices in this way cannot deviate from the service of the Lord, and that makes him perfect in the mission of human life. Japascha paramo guhya shruyatang me nripatmaja yang sapta ratram prapatan puman pashyati kecharan. O son of the king, now I shall speak unto you the mantra which will be chanted with the process of meditation. One who carefully chants this mantra for 7 nights can see the perfect human beings flying in the sky. Interesting. Purport. Within this universe, there is a planet called Siddhaloka. The inhabitants of Siddhaloka are by nature perfect in the yoga achievements, which are of 8 varieties. One can become smaller than the smallest, that's anima, lighter than the lightest, laghima, bigger than the biggest, forgot what that one is called. One can immediately get whatever he likes, and one can even create a planet, etc. God, I forgot the names of all these. There are some of the these are some of the yogic perfections. By virtue of the laghima siddhi, our purificatory process to become lighter than the lightest, the inhabitants of Siddhaloka can fly in the sky without airplanes or airships. It is hinted herein by Narada Muni to Dhruva Maharaj that by meditating upon the transcendental form of the Lord and at the same time chanting the mantra, one becomes so perfect within 7 days that he can see the human beings who fly in the sky. Narada Muni uses the word japa, which indicates that the mantra to be chanted is very confidential. One may ask, if it is confidential, why is it mentioned in the writing of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? It is confidential in this sense. One may receive a published mantra anywhere, but unless it is accepted through the chain of disciplic succession, the mantra does not act. It is said by authoritative sources that any mantra chanted without having been received from the disciplic succession has no efficacy. Another point established in this verse is that meditation should be carried on with the chanting of a mantra. Chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is the easiest process of meditation in this age. As soon as one chants the Hare Krishna mantra, he sees the forms of Krishna, Ram, and their energies, and that is the perfect stage of trance. One should not artificially try to see the form of the Lord while chanting Hare Krishna, but when the chanting is performed defenselessly, the Lord will automatically reveal himself to the view of the chanter. The chanter, therefore, has to concentrate on hearing the vibration, and without extra endeavor on his part, the Lord will automatically appear. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Mantrenanena Devasya Kuryadravya Mayim Buddha Saparyang Vividhar Dravyar Deshakala Vibhagavit. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the 12-syllable mantra for worshipping Lord Krishna. One should install the physical forms of the Lord, and with the chanting of the mantra, one should offer flowers and fruits and other varieties of foodstuffs, exactly according to the rules and regulations prescribed by authorities. But this should be done in consideration of place, time, and attendant conveniences and inconveniences. Okay, we're ending with this purport. Purport. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is known as the Dwadashakshar mantra. This mantra is chanted by Vaishnava devotees, and it begins with pranava, or omkar. There is an injunction that those who are not Brahmins cannot pronounce the pranava mantra. But Dhruva Maharaj was born a Kshatriya. He at once admitted before Narada Muni that as a Kshatriya, he was unable to accept Narada's instructions of renunciation and mental equilibrium, which are the concern of a Brahmin. Still, although not a Brahmin but a Kshatriya, Dhruva was allowed, on the authority of Narada, to pronounce the pranava omkar. This is very significant. Especially in India, the caste Brahmins object greatly when persons from other castes who are not born in Brahmin families recite this pranava mantra. But here it is I don't know this word, tacit? Yes, tacit. Understood or implied without being stated. Oh, that's a good word to know. Implicit. But here is tacit proof that if a person accepts the Vaishnava mantra or Vaishnava way of worshipping the deity, he is allowed to chant the pranava mantra. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord personally accepts that anyone, even one of a low species, can be elevated to the highest position and go back home, back to Godhead, simply if he worships properly. The prescribed rules, as stated here by Narada Muni, are that one should accept the mantra through a bona fide spiritual master and hear the mantra in the right ear. Not only should one chant or murmur the mantra, but in front of him, he must have the deity, or physical form of the Lord. Of course, when the Lord appears, it is no longer a physical form. For example, when an iron rod is made red hot in a fire, it is no longer iron, it is fire. Similarly, when we make a form of the Lord, whether of wood or stone or metal or jewels or paint or even a form within the mind, it is bona fide, spiritual, transcendental form of it is a bona fide spiritual transcendental form of the Lord. Not only must one receive the mantra from a bona fide spiritual master like Narada Muni or his representative in the disciplic succession, but one must chant the mantra. And not only must one chant, but he should also offer whatever foodstuff is available in his part of the world, according to time and convenience. The method of worship, chanting the mantra and preparing the forms of the Lord, is not stereotyped, nor is it exactly the same everywhere. It is specifically mentioned in this verse that one should take consideration of the time, place, and available conveniences. Our Krishna consciousness movement is going throughout the entire world, and we also install deities in different centers. Sometimes our Indian friends, puffed up with concocted notions, criticize. This has not been done. This has not been done. But they forget this instruction of Narada Muni to one of the greatest Vaishnavas, Dhruva Maharaj. One has to consider the particular time, country, and conveniences. What is convenient in India may not be convenient in the Western countries. Those who are not actually in the line of acharyas, or who personally have no knowledge of how to act in the role of acharya, unnecessarily criticize the activities of the ISKCON movement in countries outside of India. The fact is that such critics cannot do anything personally to spread Krishna consciousness. If someone does go and preach, taking all risk and allowing all considerations for time and place, it might be that there are changes in the manner of worship. But that is not at all faulty according to Shastra. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, an acharya in the disciplic succession of the Ramanuja Sampradaya, cool, and it's Ramanujacharya's appearance day today, he has remarked in his commentary that chandalas, or conditioned souls who are born in lower than Sudra families, can also be initiated according to circumstances. The formalities may be slightly changed here and there to make them Vaishnavas. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that his name should be heard in every nook and corner of the world. How is this possible unless one preaches everywhere? The cult of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Bhagavat Dharma, and he especially recommends Krishna Katha, or the cult of Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. He recommends that every Indian, considering this task to be para upakar, or welfare activity, take the Lord's message to other residents of the world. Other residents of the world does not refer only to those who are exactly like the Indian Brahmins and Kshatriyas, or like the caste Brahmins, who claim to be Brahmins because they are born in the families of Brahmins. The principle that only Indians and Hindus should be brought into the Vaishnava cult is a mistaken idea. There should be propaganda to bring everyone to the Vaishnava cult. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant for this purpose. There is no bar to propagating the Krishna consciousness movement even among people who are born in Chandal, Mlecha, or Yavan families. Even in India, this point has been enunciated by Srila Sanatana Goswami in his book Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is Smriti and is the authorized Vedic guide for Vaishnavas in their daily behavior. Sanatana Goswami says that as bell metal can turn to gold when mixed with mercury in a chemical process, so by the bona fide diksha or initiation method, anyone can become a Vaishnava. One should take initiation from a bona fide spiritual master coming in disciplic succession, who is authorized by his predecessor spiritual master. This is called Diksha Vidhan. Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Vyapashrita, one should accept a spiritual master. By this process, the entire world can be converted to Krishna consciousness. Alright, so that is all for today. It's now 2 minutes to 8. It's good timing. And tomorrow we will read What did we read up to? 55. So we'll read the rest of Narada's instructions to Dhruva Maharaj. And then Narada will inquire about Uttanapad's moroseness. Okay, so Narada will meet and pacify Uttanapad. And Uttanapad regrets his unkind dealings. Narada informs of Dhruva's safety and future success. All right. Hare Krishna. Oh, that's cool. Pradyumna Prabhu gave parallel purports. This is awesome. Oh, wow. Great. Thank you for this. I'll have to read that afterwards. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
It's 8 o'clock.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Gurangandari Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashratara Shata Shishimachla Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudeva Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashratara Shata Shishmad Shri Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashratara Shata Shishmad Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashratara Shata Shishmad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashratara Shatashmat Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Srila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vṛndā Ki Jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vṛndā Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaur Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vṛndā-Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Shri Ramanujacharya Ki Jai. Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Hriday Ban Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vṛndā Ki Jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vṛndā Ki Jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanante Hari Hari Gaur. Vṛndāya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Keśavāṣṭakam Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Oh, Pradyumna's mother is waving at me. Haribol. Haribol. Dandavat pranams Indira Mataji, Pradyumna Prabhu, Raseshwari Mataji, who else? Gargaraj Prabhu, and whoever else is there. Jai Shri Radhe. Oh, and Madhavi Didi. Haribo, Radhe Radhe. See you all either this evening or tomorrow morning. Jai Shri Radhe.